Hey VC, welcome to my channel. Tony here on this cold January morning. January's almost over. Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope your teams were successful. If you were a Kansas City Chief fan, business as usual, going for the three-peat. Really felt bad for the Bills. It's just not in the cards. You know, the Bills have a legacy of not winning the big games, right? So terrible. And of course we have, for all you Philly fans, you got the Eagles and the Chiefs, another rematch. So football aside, hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for coming by. This video is a follow-up video on a video I did a few days ago, a couple of videos. I showed my VPI, vacuum record cleaning machine that I've had for years. It's a workhorse. And it showed how I cleaned some really beat up jazz records I found and an old soundtrack I found. Now these records are from 62, 64, and what else? And 59. So these records are well over 60 years old. And the only modern one is the Badfinger I'm going to show, Magic Christian. You know, that record was okay. It was probably, I played it a few times, but I cleaned it on my channel. And what I'm going to do after this video is over, when I tell you the result of cleaning just a handful of these records, I'm going to link at the back of my video. There'll be two screens up, and you could see the actual cleaning of at least two of these records, and I'm going to pick the most grimiest ones. And another reason for this video, I've gotten some requests. How did the record sound? Because when I'm cleaning these records, they were scuffed up. These records have never been cleaned anywhere near, you know, what I'm cleaning with. Obviously, this is a prop. I use my VPI, VPI record cleaning machine. But I have seen folks in used record stores using this, which I would not use to clean my records. This is what we used in the old days. Here's the brush. You would apply the D4 solution, and supposedly this lifted up all the debris from the records, and that's all we had back in the day. These were dishwasher D4 system. This has a price tag on it of I think $10, which was quite a bit back in 75 or whenever I bought that. So this is just a little fun thing I put up because, people use all types of methods. There's a million methods on YouTube. Home remedy, I don't use that. I buy a concentrate, which I showed on the cleaning video. I do use this on occasion. This comes pre-mixed. This is from MoFi. This is very good. But overall, this is just for fun. So first one we're going to do is this one, the Magic Christian. I believe this was late 60s, 69, 70 or so. This is in really nice shape. Really didn't need a in-depth cleaning. Sounds perfect. So this is not one that was in contestant for a dirty, grimy, never been cleaned record before. This is a beautiful Apple pressing. Badfinger was signed to Apple, first artist I believe signed to Apple. Mal Evans, their roadie, publicist, valet, fetcher, Maxwell Silver Hammer guy. He actually was more like sometime was working as like a talent scout, and he saw these guys playing a Badfinger, the classical lineup, and I guess told Paul. Paul thought they were good. Paul signed them, gave them Come and Get It, and the rest is history. And Come and Get It's on here, so if you want it, here it is, Come and Get It. So this is just in there because I did clean it, but this record really wasn't a problem. Another record that really wasn't too dirty, which was rare because this record is 1959. This record is 66 years old, and that's this record. A great 6i Columbia mono, Tony Bennett, Hometown, My Hometown, Hometown, My Town. It's about New York. It's almost a concept record. On here is the Skyscraper Blues, Penthouse Serenade, All by Myself. I Cover the Waterfront, which was from a book. The book was I Cover the Waterfront, and a tune emanated later on. Love Is Here to Stay, The Party's Over. So a lot of standards are recorded under direction of Ralph Burns, and some really nice liner notes. This is the mono. I'll show the record. Now this record was, I'll say, when I found these records at a thrift store, I bought all these together except for the last one I'm going to show, and of course the Magic Christian. But the rest, the I believe three records that I consider jazz, as a Tony Bennett jazz vocalist. There was other Tony Bennett's there, but they were kind of scratched, and in retrospect I should have bought them, because I bought the jazz records that looked like they were scratched. And in these old records, sometimes you can't tell if it's not a deep scratch, if it looks like it's a scuff or what we call a hairline or a paper cut, thin paper cut. Sometimes they play really well. You can't tell by looking at them, but for thrift shop prices, you can't not take a chance. In most cases, you will be the victor. You will not say, I should have never bought this record. So anyway, this record was in really good shape, and when I cleaned it, it came out near mint. It was actually unbelievable. And like I said on the one video where I cleaned it, there's only 3 tracks, or 3 or 4 tracks on one side, or 3 tracks on one side, 4 on the other, but they used only the right portion of the record, and there's a big gap between the end of the record and the label, so you don't have that inner distortion groove. This record sounded really well. It was a mono. Here's one of the original liners. It actually had 2 liners in it. Here's a Columbia Records. I believe this is the original liner. I had another liner that I think was not from this record, but this is a great inner, not liner, inner. And here's the inner that I showed on camera. It's a 6-eye, beautiful 6-eye, and you can see what I mean by quite a bit of space, almost as if it was a UHQR 45 cut, or one of the one-step cuts where you only have a couple tracks. And I believe, I didn't time this record, it doesn't have time on it, but I'm saying it's 12 or 13 minutes a side. So they really sounds good, I think, because of that. And you can see. So this record came out exceptionally well, but it wasn't dirty. It was, and now it's near mint. Now it sounds, I don't use near mint easily. I'm kind of conservative when I do grade records. I do use that eBay inner, which is excellent, because it's between VG Plus and near mint. It's excellent, and that's not Goldmine Standard, but I do use that. If you don't know what Goldmine Standard grading system is, I think I did something on it once, but you could go to Wikipedia or online. There's plenty of people on YouTube, VCers on YouTube, that talk about the Goldmine grading system. I like the Goldmine grading system, but that's really a visual system. And like I kind of hinted at, you can't tell how a record's going to sound by looking at it. It could look near mint. I have near mint visual records that I played, and they were bad. They were hissing. Whatever was in that inner groove, whoever played it on an old system, kind of ruined that record. But the next record I'm going to show is 2 Sides of Jack Wilson. Now, I didn't really know about Jack Wilson. He's a piano player in the vein of like an Art Tatum jazz, traditional jazz. But apparently he's huge in the jazz genre. And I was lucky enough to find 2 of his records. Here's one, which is called The 2 Sides of Jack Wilson. And this is with Philly Joe Jones and Leroy Vinegar. Vinegar is the bass player and Jones is the drummer, and they are exquisite. This record jumps. Leonard Feather, famous jazz critic and writer, Leonard Feather, did the great liner notes and explains what we're listening to in the lineup. So the 2 Sides of Jack Wilson. Now, I'm going to show this on one of the end pages, so if you want to see what this record looked like before I cleaned it, please check those out. Now, this is on the Desirable Plum Orange Atlantic. I believe this is a first pressing. Who knows, but you can see here that this record turned out really nice. There's some swirls on it, but as far as the sound, it's just amazing. I'd give it a VG plus to excellent. No skips, no pops, zero hiss. You would normally get distortion noise in these records. If you looked at this record before I cleaned it, you would say, I'm not even gonna touch this record. So there's the Plum label. This record sounds excellent. I wish I could play it for you, but like Elvis here is restricted for copyright. Elvis says hi. For copyright laws, we cannot play it. I don't want to lose my, YouTube privileges for doing this. Unfortunately, I may do a short on it, which is recorded audio from YouTube that allows us to use up to 60 seconds music, and we could do a short. I might do that just to give you an opportunity to listen to it. But if you like piano, if you like traditional jazz, check out Mr. Jack Wilson and his boys. Now, this next one was just a trip, and I'm saying a trip through the jungles of Amazon, through the jungles of the Amazon River. Before it was an Amazon River, because if you read the liner notes, this is a mythical story, a mythical journey of how the Amazon came about. And this is Gene Ammons, Bossa Nova, Bad. This record's bad. Now, this has on it Gene Ammons, tenor sax, Bucky Pizzarelli, Spanish guitar, and you could hear Bucky Pizzarelli. And when Bucky did this, he was probably a young man. I've seen Bucky Pizzarelli in numerous occasions. He's from New Jersey, and I know his son is also a great guitar player. Kenny Burrell plays rhythm guitar. You could hear Kenny. Norman Edge on bass. Hank Jones, the great Hank Jones, piano. Oliver Jackson's percussion, and Al Hayes bongo. And percussion and bongo play prominent roles in this, because this is a percussionist bossa nova record, and the liner notes are just really cool. I'm not sure who wrote the liner notes. I do know that this was a Randy Van Gelder recording, probably up there in up North Jersey, in his mother's living room or father's living room. This is a Prestige, and this is Prestige stereo, so it has the black Prestige label. I'm just going to hold this up, so if you wanted to freeze that and read some of these liner notes, I hope that's not in the way. And the cover is Bossa Nova, Bad. Now, this record's bad. It looked bad, but let me tell you, it's VG plus to excellent. No hiss, which is what I really care about. I could deal with a few pops, but I cannot deal with that insidious, like a slow burn through the records. I've found many, Disney records like that, because they're played on children's turntables or phonographs or portables. I cannot stand that hiss, no matter what. I could stand a few ticks, but this has very few ticks. This record jumps out at you. Tenor sax is in the left channel, and the percussion just jams together. And here's the record after it was cleaned. Now, I picked these up for $1. So when I saw the record had some, it was dirt. They were dirty. This didn't even have a sleeve in it. If you look at the jacket, it's coming apart. I put a paper clip here to hold it together until I get it in plastic. I'm going out today to a record shop, and I'll give them a plug, Spin Me Round, over in Pennsylvania. I'm going to go out and pick up some outer sleeves, because I ran out, some inner sleeves. I need some extra inner sleeves. But a Prestige stereo, the black label. I haven't seen this on eBay. I know there's a mono that's listed for maybe $50, $60, and it's only VG. This is, I would rate this VG plus. Okay, now this record was trashed, and like I indicated, wait till the end of the video, go to the end of the video, and there's 2 boxes that come up, and I'm going to show 2 of these jazz records being cleaned. I'll probably show the Gene Ammons, and I'll probably show the Jack Wilson, because those were the trashed up, and that's what people my great viewers, and I want to thank the great viewers. Dave actually asked me to do a video on how does it sound, so give a shout out to Dave. I'll link his channel in my description. But first off, I didn't have any expectations when I found this hoard. I'm going to show when I get the sleeves. I'm going to put together a nice video when I get those outer sleeves, because I want to put the records in plastic when I show them. When I get those outer sleeves, I'm going to show this entire, what I call a hoard of a lifetime. Jazz records from the 60s and late 50s. Blue Notes, Prestige, Verve, Columbia 6 Eyes, like you saw. Now there's another Tony Bennett in there, but really came out great. I can't imagine it sounding better than it sounds. It's just bam, and it's in stereo, so you get that feeling that you're going on a journey up the Amazon River. Look up these liner notes. You probably could read them from a eBay post, or when I held them up, you might be able to enlarge that, freeze it out and enlarge it. But amazing. Now this record up next is another grail that I found at a different thrift shop at a different time a few weeks ago, but I put it in here because for me this was a kind of holy grail. I'm a big fan of Mutiny on the Bounty, starring Trevor Howard, Marlon Brando, Richard Harris, cast of hundreds, mostly Tahiti natives from the Pacific. But this is the original soundtrack. But if you see there, it has a deluxe booklet, and the deluxe book, I should say, it's a hardcover book. This is pretty heavy. This probably weighs about 2 pounds, 3 pounds because of the book. Really nice shape. I picked this up at a thrift shop. Was just sitting there with a box of classical box sets, operas, things like that, which I was buying in the past, but now some of these thrift shops are doing each record is $1 or each record is $2. So some of these box sets are 3 or 4 records. So you're going to pay $6, but it's a bargain. But I have so much classical, and I give a lot of classical to Big John, a lot of operas. He's a big opera fan. So I really didn't look through them, but I saw this peeking out. And it has the spine, has the box. The box has a hinge on it. I'm going to show it. So I cleaned this record, and this record was not bad. This record looked VG plus excellent visually, but like I said, you can't really tell visually. But here is the album on MGM. Now, normally, when I say normally, you know where I'm going. Normally, MGM records from this era, this was 62. Back in 62, there were no videos. There was nothing else that you could bring home except a souvenir booklet from the theater, or a poster, if you were lucky enough to get a poster, or some pulp magazine that actually was a tie into the book, like the tie into the A Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie or a Bond movie. You didn't have any way of getting a video. The next best thing you had was the souvenir soundtrack or the souvenir booklet. Now this was a box set. This was probably sold maybe at the premiere, maybe in big marketplaces in LA, New York City, Radio City, wherever this movie debuted. Now, like I said earlier, this movie was an albatross for MGM. It ran so much over budget that it kind of bankrupted MGM for a while. Marlon Brando was thought of as the main cause. There were other factors if you read this, but I love this movie. I've seen this movie 20, 25 times. Whenever it's on television, I watch it. I have it on DVD somewhere in widescreen. But this movie is just spectacular for what it's worth. I think it's one of Brando's best, Trevor Howard's best. Richard Harris kind of plays a villain, and he's got that. He was. I believe he was a young actor at this time. I don't think he was in many movies prior to this. I'm not really certain. But here's the booklet, or the book, I should say. I'm so used to saying booklet, because when do you get a hardcover book unless it's a Beatle box set? But this also came with this really nice photo, but it's on a nice stock paper, suitable for framing. The HMS Bounty, and you can see that. So this was a treat, and I'm sure in many cases that photo is not in the booklet. So this booklet was in really good condition. There's some mold or rust spots on the white that I show when I cleaned it. If you go back, you can look at that video. But this booklet is great. Has a great photos, some publicity, some from the film. And the booklet was, or the book again, I'm sorry, the book was unscathed. This is a great addition to my collection. I'll show you what it comes in a little case there where the book fits in. So for me to find this is a holy grail as far as soundtracks. I've never seen it in the flesh, and I know my friends from the great magazine Cinema Retro, I know the publisher and the editor, Dave Worrell and Lee Pfeiffer, dropping names here. But if Lee watches this, hats off to Cinema Retro. He's going to come on one day. We're going to talk about his magazine, Cinema Retro. Go to cinemaretro.com. The essential classic movies of the 60s and 70s are highlighted throughout. I contributed to a Dean Martin essay once. They did a whole special edition on the Matt Helm films that sold out immediately. His books aren't mass produced. They're on subscription. There are Barnes and Nobles and other fine stores that sell, books and magazines, and there's not many, but you can find Cinema Retro magazine online. So hats off to Lee. So there you have it. Just to summarize, the jazz records were they look like complete trash when you look at them. I cleaned them under a bright light on the VPI vacuum cleaning record machine, so you could see those. And the Mutiny on the Bounty did not sound good. It looked good. It's just a really bad recording. It's just a one-dimensional, kind of distant. Nothing was focused. I believe this is stereo. I'm thinking this is stereo. Probably stereo. Let me just double check that. But in any way, it's not good. It looks good. I'm glad to have it. I will keep it. Maybe I'll have to give it another listen. After listening to those great jazz records, this couldn't come close. But as far as significant value for me, as far as a part of my collection for Marlon Brando stuff and soundtracks, I give it I give the box set a 10. I give the presentation a 10. But I give the record a 6 or something. Really not good. It didn't sound good on my system. I was really hoping for some sweeping visuals and soundstage and vistas. Believe me, it's not like listening to Star Wars or a soundtrack or a Superman soundtrack, a Williams great new vinyl. This was a bad transfer. I didn't look up anyone else's review of this record because I wanted to get this out, but all in all, happy to have it. The two jazz records are just phenomenal. Fiji Plus and better. The Tony Bennett Near Mint. So there you have it. So watch those records. Whatever you could use. There's plenty of methods to do it on YouTube. Thanks a lot. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot more content like this, which is fun content and showing off some of the stuff I find out in the wild. So don't give up. I had no expectations that I was going to run into this great jazz collection, man. Blue Note from the 60s, the original deep groove, as they call them. Horace Silver. I think there's a McCoy Tyner. Just a great set, a great set of records. So we'll be showing those once I get them together to present to you. So thanks a lot. Stay good, and if I don't talk to you, have a great Super Bowl. But I hope to see you before, in less than the 2 weeks from the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is 2 weeks away, so you can basically date this video. Thank you. Keep rocking. See you soon. Ciao.